Anyhow, the mental health worker who brought this idea to the fore was talking about any object that the child develops a special feeling for, longing for, that the child cannot be without. He sleeps with it. If you take it away to wash it, he gets upset. Very important object to the child, and it is called a transitional object. It can be anything. It can be a teddy bear, it can be a piece of cloth, it can be a blanket. A lot of them call it blankie, as a matter of fact.
Or lovey.
Or lovey. And the child takes this everywhere with them, especially if they leave their room or their home. And the psychoanalysts described it in terms of it represents the mother. They split the mother in two, and therefore they carry the mother with them, and so forth and so on. But all that psychoanalytic interpretation aside, this is an object that a young child, sometimes as young as 4 months and older, will take with them wherever they go, and it seems to give them a great deal of comfort, especially in new situations with people, new rooms, new car, new anything. Child holds on to this object, and it seems to give the child a feeling of comfort and security.
So, okay. But sometimes it can be not everywhere they go, only if they sleep somewhere, or like I know a lot of the nursery schools, the kids will bring a toy to sleep with, but it's not like they're carrying the toy around. Normally they wouldn't take it to the grocery store, and they wouldn't take it to a friend's house when they go to play, but because they know that they're setting up to sleep, they bring it to school that day, and it comes out during sleeping time.
Yeah. Well, it seems that many children need comfort in order to go to sleep. I don't know why. I don't know if anybody knows why. And this object that they derive comfort from permits them to relax and go to sleep, or to relax and go into a strange room, or meet strange people.
So how does it play out for the child? They just bring it along, and the parents offer it?
Usually the child will bring it along. And as a matter of fact, if you put the child in the car seat and start to drive off without it, the child will start to cry. And it'll cry to a point where you turn the car around and go home and get it. Even though you are in the car with them, and even though it's supposed to represent the mother.
Right.
It seems to be related to the child's feelings of security. And when the child has the object, he seems to derive a measure of security from it that permits him to function better. He can't function very well if they're sitting and crying.
Right. And I guess there's just varying degrees. Some will only use it to sleep, others will carry it around.
Exactly, it's variable how much they use it. About 60% of North American children have a transitional object. It's much less frequent, I think it's down around 5%, in countries where the mother carries the baby around all the time. Far, far fewer of these babies and young children have a transitional object. It's much more it's much more a function of, let's say, North American culture or Western Europe than of other parts of the world.
So then the link there is, if you have your mother, you don't need the object.
That's what seems to be implied by the percentages that you see of children who carry such an object and don't.
So
I don't think it's because mothers in the countries where they carry the baby all the time refuse to give the child a transitional object. I've never read anything of that nature.
Right.
They just don't seem to seek one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what should parents know if their child, what if their child doesn't seem attached to anything? Like our son isn't.
Well, the implication is that the child doesn't need this source of comfort, that he's deriving enough comfort from his surroundings, that is by people, probably his mother, although these days maybe it's his father, that he doesn't need the object. He doesn't need a substitute, a replacement, a transitional replacement.
And is any of the having one or not having one, is it rooted at all in who you're born as?
It could be, because certainly some children are born more prone to anxiety than others.
Mm-hmm.
We know for sure that some children are far more resilient than others. There probably is a link with the inborn temperament of the child.
So what I'm getting at is, if your child needs one, should you feel guilty?
No, you shouldn't feel guilty. In part because as much as the analysts tried and as much as we observe, we really don't know exactly what's going on in that little brain. And no, I don't think parents should feel guilty if their child needs a transitional object. He might just be one of those babies that we were just discussing, who needs something more to give him or her a sense of security. And this child was simply born with a greater need. So certainly there's no blame to place on parents because their child has a transitional object.
And the way I would see it is, if the parent allows the transitional object to play its role in the child's life, well, so much the better.
So much the better. So much the better.
Feel
if
better.
having a corner of a blanket gives you the strength to come out and face the world, that no matter what age you are and what requirements are necessary to face it, well, all the better.
Right.
All the better.
So in a way, that's not that it's better or worse, but it's a good thing that they identified one.
Yes.
And then are allowed to take it around.
Exactly. So it's definitely in no way a bad thing, and in no way something that should blame the parents for having done something wrong. Not at all.
So, what should parents do when their child shows the need for one?
Well, the child will pick one.
Yeah.
The child will pick one of his toys or her toys, or something around the house. Maybe it's a couch pillow, and they'll let you know that that's their object. You don't have to guess.
But then, what I'm getting at, I guess, is there are some situations where I would imagine carrying around a couch pillow or even a blanket wouldn't work. For example, if you're going to a swim class, you can't bring your stuffed animal into the pool.
No, but you can put it on the chair.
So that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So a few of those examples.
Yes, yeah.
Of where the parent meets the need of the child with the object.
Or the parent can say, "Here, I have Pookie. I'm going to keep him in my purse for you."
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the parents should try to accommodate the child in situations like that.
And should it ever be taken away under any circumstances?
It should not be taken away. Well, but sometimes it has to be washed.
Right.
But even then, your child can get upset because they don't care if it's dirty and smelly.
Right. And in terms of a form of punishment then?
What a horrible idea.
Right.
But first of all, no, it's not a good idea.
But say a bit more.
Well, I was just going to go on to punishment in general, but that's not our topic.
Well, I would infer, tell me if I'm wrong or right, that it's such a source of comfort that taking it away would be... What could a child possibly do that would require that level of punishment?
I think that would be horrendous. That would be like, taking your job away from you that you love, or preventing you from being with your husband that you love. I mean, this is a very, very powerful thing for the child. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's extremely powerful. It's never something that you should take away lightly, even to wash it.
Or I would say even to threaten to take it away,
oh my
even
goodness,
if you're not
to threaten
going
to take it away would be monstrous.
Right.
It would be like, having some agency come into your house and threaten to take you off to jail. I mean, I'm just trying to think of a situation for an adult that would be so terrifying.
Right. So the key points are that the transitional object is really something important to your child, something that
Extremely
helps
important.
them
Extremely important,
face the world.
extremely helpful to face the world, yes.
and parents should respect their need for it
Yes.
under all circumstances.
Yes.
And in circumstances and situations where the child can't have their object, big one's empathy. We talk about that in the wise parenting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it's forgotten at home,
Yeah. Yeah.
really treat it as it's
As
their...
a very important loss or incident. Very important. A great deal of comfort for the child.
And so do they slow and stop using it?
Some do.
Maybe so. I still have my blanket.
I know that. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't go around with me like it once did. So should parents worry, oh, when are they going to stop carrying that around?
Oh my goodness, no. They should just make it available at all, see that it's available at all times. Wash it when it gets beyond living with, really beyond living with. And it's just part of the child, like his nose. You don't take it away.
And then eventually they'll
Eventually
grow out of it?
The chances are that when they're at the university, they won't have it with them.
And then could you argue that parents respecting the child's need for one increases the child's trust in their parents?
Yes, amongst all the millions of other things that parents do that increase the child's trust in the parents.
Well, just because this one's so important to the child.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think there's much else that we can... Well, they say things like it permits a transfer of affections from the mother to the object, therefore the child becomes more independent and less clingy. It's a tool for practicing interaction with the external world. Oh, and some say, again, this psychoanalytic interpretation, that by giving the object a will of its own, in other words, the child is animist with the object. The child gives the object properties, like loving him.
Mm-hmm.
So he learns he is not omnipotent and can nevertheless survive. Okay, this is an interpretation. Fine, I have no problem with it, but you don't need it. All you need to know is that your child needs this object for comfort and for feeling capable, and we don't have to try to understand its symbolic meaning.
So do pacifiers play this sort of role early on, or because that also has a physical sucking whole brain connection thing that's
It's both.
on a different level?
It could both. I could see where the pacifier could also serve as a transitional object. Must be children out there, as a matter of fact, who carry their pacifier around. I think mothers have tied the pacifier to the child's clothing so that the child can suck it on
Lots
it
of parents,
anytime.
I think it's fairly common that parents take away the pacifier at a certain point.
Yeah, well, they take away because the dentists have said that if the child uses the pacifier, the teeth will be crooked. I've read that this isn't so. I'm not a dentist. I won't get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's back to its use as a transitional object. It could be. It could be anything.
So maybe if
It could be a salt shaker.
maybe if a parent wants to take away the pacifier for other reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but have identified that it's very important to the child,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they can try to introduce a new
Yeah.
object or
they would try.
ask the child to choose something else
Yeah,
or something.
they can do that. If the child is old enough, maybe they will have some success. Maybe they will have some success after a period of crying and dismay on the part of the child. But they may have no choice, you know. To get back to the dentist, if the dentist has told the parents that the child's teeth are coming in crooked and they absolutely must stop the pacifier, then of course they must absolutely stop the pacifier. In which case they'll have to give the child a lot of comfort while the child goes through withdrawal from the pacifier. And I used the word withdrawal deliberately because withdrawal is very painful.
Okay. But some children may drop the pacifier.
Oh yeah, a lot of them drop it spontaneously.
Oh, but I mean, if
Some-
the parents take it away,
Yeah.
if it's not initiated by the child,
Yeah.
some children may not really dwell on the fact that it's not around anymore.
Well,
and
then-
others would
then it
be
wasn't
more.
then it wasn't a real transitional object.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, because we
Yeah.
said it before that the pacifier in some circumstances may
Yeah.
act
exactly.
as one
Yeah.
and sometimes
Yeah.
not.
But if they let go of it easily, then it's not really.
Right.
But because the attachment to a transitional object is very powerful.
Yes.